Indeed, one-on-one is always fun to have this time online with you. One-on-one is all about conversations that don't get enough airtime, in my opinion. They don't get enough conversation. And with us today, we're going to be having a really interesting one, and we're pleased that you could join us. Make sure you click that notification bell, subscribe, follow on all the platforms you are either watching or listening to us from, and make sure you don't miss a thing. Today's topic is cool. I'm really interested in this one. Now, it is leadership in Women's Month. So, August is Women's Month in South Africa, and it's all about navigating business as a female leader right now. We're going to be highlighting some challenges, some triumphs of female leadership, particularly in male dominated industries. As we join South Africans as they celebrate Women's Month, we're joined by Keletso Mpisane. She is an under 40 leader, and she has not only risen to the top as head of Blink by MiWay, but she's also made some significant strides in promoting leadership and providing opportunities for others. And hopefully, this conversation is going to touch on not just her experiences, but also the nuances of leading in predominantly male industries, the broader implications of this for women in leadership across various types of roles. My industry as well is also one that has in the past been basically male dominated, but yeah, the women are coming up. We are coming up. I'm so pleased to have you with us, Keletso. Welcome to One on One.
Hi, Titi. Thank you for having me. What an absolute honor, and good evening to your audience as well.
Wow, I'm speaking to the head of Blink by My Way. Interesting platform. I've had a conversation with one of your team members previously, and I got a little bit of an insight into what your team
Mm,
has been working on. And I was, I was blown away. Thank you so much for
mm.
everything you do. And I was even more interested to hear that, you were available for a conversation, and especially since it's focused on women in leadership. But you need to let us in on your journey. How did this all
Yeah.
begin for you? And rising to this position, being under 40, it's an achievement to say the least. But talk to us about your journey. Let us in.
Sure. Quite a journey. And 40 never felt that close. So I'm definitely almost knocking on the door of the big 40. So yeah, Titi, I mean, for me, my journey started, I went to varsity. I studied information systems. I had a keen interest in processes and structure, order, systems. But for me, what really pulled my heartstrings in my studies was the people aspect of how you fit technology and people. That was the first thing that I knew I wanted to be a part of wherever my career took me. And I think the other thing that pulled at my heartstrings was how society is constantly looking for solutions. So it's all about, for me, it was about, yes, we know, the technology of today looks a certain way, but society is evolving, but the problems never change. That there's always an issue, there's always something, and just the power of what technology can do to solve those problems. So I had a keen interest in marrying what structure, process, order, re-engineering of thinking and mindsets, and marrying that with people and shifting society, as it were. So my journey started really there. If I were really to think about my career, and I worked in consulting for a bit. That's where I started my journey, and then I journeyed through, through life insurance. I had a stint in the life insurance space. So insurance happened to me. It's not something that I went looking for,
Interesting.
kind of going, look at me, I want to be, in insurance one day. It definitely happened to me. But my consulting experience is something I wouldn't have trade it for anything. Big projects, technical, non-technical. At some point, I coded. I hated the coding, but I did it anyway. So there's also a bit of there's a technical background as well,
Okay.
and a love for architecture. There's a love because I love structure and order and process. I just love the idea of being able to put things in place, even architecturally. So that's kind of where my journey started. And then, transition from the consulting world into life insurance. And then from life insurance, my husband and I think before my husband I decided that I wanted to work with young people.
Okay.
And I wanted to do it before having children and, kind of having big responsibilities. And I made a decision to work for an NGO through my church. And for 4 years, I gave, my time to working on campus at the university where I studied. I studied at Wits University. And I think for me, that was probably one of the most character building periods of my journey. My role there was, student mentorship, putting systems in place, putting a strategy in place for the space that we were working in, and getting very close to a younger market, a younger audience at a heart level and at a very day-to-day level, where you hear stories of what young people go through when they get to universities. And maybe for some of us that have been on a university campus, you kind of get a sense of the general story of some of the people, but you don't get really close to it. And for me, recognizing that there's actually a generation of young people that is not served from a financial services perspective was immensely eye-opening. And so that was part of, during those years, I just kind of did what I needed to do in terms of my job, and creating structures in that environment. And then when my son was born, I went back into the corporate space, more in the innovation space, and I joined MiWay. MiWay has been an amazing place to be a part of. Very innovative, very forward thinking,
Yeah.
and I had space to try new things when I started at MiWay. And so my journey through MiWay has also been quite a significant one. MiWay is our insurance business that underwrites Blink. And so we
I'm
were
gonna
born, Blink
I'm
was
gonna take
from
you
MiWay.
I'm gonna take you into Blink by My Way in a second, but I want to
Okay.
take you back into your journey because I'm trying to pull out the key milestones. Those,
Yeah.
do you have two or three key milestones that were turning points in your career that eventually led to the direction you have now?
Yes. Um, sure, you're making me think hard, Titi, but definitely the one was when I was in consulting, and working on different projects, working for the airline industry, working on different aspects of my role at the time, analysis and unpacking data and all of that kind of thing. The turning point for me was knowing that this is actually what I wanted to do. I think, when you're young and you're starting to work, it's so, everything is just like, oh, but why am I not going to get there? Where am I going to go? How am I going to get there? And what does the path look like? And I just remember thinking, when all of this is over and this part of my career, shifts and changes, what's going to be the thing that makes me say yes every time, And I definitely had a very key moment I had an amazing consulting manager. Her name was Martina, and Martina was an incredible mentor. She said to me, there's a project we were working on, and I was going to do a costing for it, a project plan and a costing and what services we are going to provide and that kind of thing, an initial proposal. And I remember putting myself as junior analyst, send it to her
Wow.
for her to review. She sent it back to me and immediately said to me, "You will never, ever write the word or prefix your role with junior in front of it. It's important for you to always make sure that when you present yourself, people are aware of who you are and not necessarily what you do. And so don't sell yourself short." And that
Okay. So
principle
she
as
told
a,
you
as
to
a
change
turning
it
point
from, she told you to change it?
to
She told you to
remove,
change it
yeah,
from junior analyst?
Yep, and just put analyst.
Wow.
You know,
Amazing.
so Martina was one of the first people in my journey that was able to practically pull me up,
Wow.
and show me how to pull other people up, you know.
Mm.
So that was really
It's so
significant
funny.
for me.
Yeah, yeah. I actually had another question about mentors, role models that influenced you, and
Mm,
you've already given us one already.
yeah,
But let's go into that. The importance of
yeah.
having a mentor, having someone to help pull you up, because it does feel like everyone is on the same ladder.
Mm,
There's hardly enough room for everyone to climb up, and when you finally get a rung on the ladder, it feels
yeah,
like you're anticipating someone pulling you down as opposed to
yeah,
pulling you up.
yeah.
So I know you've mentioned one mentor, but in addition to this issue of milestones and mentorship, where did you go from there after your consulting and finally finding your way to MiWay? What was the next milestone that sort of solidified it for you?
When I left consulting, I went into the life, so I went to clientele life. And when I interviewed at clientele life, I remember feeling like I'm so young. I'm not ready for this. Just maybe to talk to you about how I stepped into the next part of my journey. Our consulting agency was going through a transitionary period, and we were being there was an acquisition that happened, and through the acquisition, a lot of changes happened, and some of us had to find alternative work and go different ways. And so, my journey ended when that process took place. And I remember feeling absolutely lost and young, and who's going to want me, you just kind of go through all these questions like, am I in the right, am I making the right decision, is this the right thing for me? And when I interviewed at clientele life, there was another mentor who at the time, didn't come across as the picture perfect mentor. This was a white male Afrikaans man who interviewed me, and asked me two, three questions, and after that he said to me, we're going to give you an offer. And I was young. I was still quite young in my journey. And when I joined the business, this person gave me so much autonomy. He listened to the way that I would think about certain things. It was a very male. You spoke about it in your intro.
Yeah.
My team was boys club.
Wow.
I was the first girl that they hired on the team. And obviously when you bring in a girl, there's a different way of thinking. There's a different way of operating, because now all of a sudden we're diversifying the space. um, and this man listened. This man made time. This man created opportunities for us to try new things. And this man really took to heart that diversity is important. So that was the first time I started to recognize that when we have diverse spaces, and it wasn't fully diverse by that. I mean, I was the only girl for like a good couple of but
Wow.
when we have diverse spaces and teams in trying to solve for the problems that we're solving for, it's very important for us to have representation. Um, and I think the introduction of me in that team, yes, it was a data analysis role, business intelligence, and kind of, looking at systems. I think just because of the timing as well, and just what I found, and the leader that I had, I was able to look across the business. I was able to have thoughts and input in all parts of the space that I was given. But a turning point there, or just to your question earlier in terms of key points, was
Milestone.
we need diverse teams. We cannot
Okay.
be selling, we cannot be creating products in the spirit of reaching a client that we don't know, in solving what we're solving for, who's speaking for the people that we are actually serving, you know. Um, sure, that really just shifted what equality, inclusion, all of that means because of how I experienced it. The boy jokes and the my first.
I
I'll
was
tell you a quick.
actually, go ahead,
I was
go
going
ahead.
to say a quick something just came to mind. My first 2 weeks being being part of the team, they made a joke about how the printer recognizes your voice. Like it already knows you, and they were like, "No, you just have to, just put in the paper." I don't even know what I needed to print. I needed to print something. I didn't know how to use a printer. And the boys were like, no, 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 you just have to, you just have to say your name and then you print it. But I was like, I was standing at the printer going, but how does this thing I just got here. Like, how does it recognize and know who I am and automatically? Did they not have the laugh like of the century? Because there I was standing in front of this thing trying to say my name. You know, yeah,
No, no. How do
yeah,
you how do you navigate that? How do you navigate that? How do you handle that and not want to just, stay in
and
bed the
run
next day?
away. Yeah,
Um, still get up in the morning and still go back to that male dominated space. You mentioned that it was like that for quite a bit after. But navigating the dynamics of that, especially
mm,
now that you're in a leadership role,
yeah,
meaning that your decisions, your conversation, everything you do, every email can impact your team.
yeah,
Um, but you have to also, in many cases, take a stand, be firm.
yeah.
What has your journey been like in that particular area, and what are the toughest things you've had to deal with?
Mm. Sure. I think a big part of resolving and navigating that has been how I was raised. My mom and my dad were very involved. I'm one of two. I'm the last born. I have an older sister. She's 6 years older than me. And my sister went to boarding school, so I was raised almost like an only child, for a period. But my mom my mom is a tough cookie, and I think most Black women, also are just, grew
Very.
up in apartheid, had to make it work. My mom wanted to study medicine, but she couldn't, because of the times, and so she ended up being a teacher. Talks about it till today. My mom raised me to speak up for myself. And I'm like a small framed, I was always a small framed, skinny little thing, squeaky voice, but my mom was very intentional about making sure that I'm able to ask questions. We would go to we would go to Woolworths or to Pick and Pay or whatever, and if we couldn't find something, she would say, "Go and ask the teller what size are you looking for," and then she would say, "What's the worst that could happen?" So ask the question. So I was encouraged to ask. I was encouraged to stand firm, and that came a lot from my mom. From my dad came compassion and came the ability to. I mean, I watched him do it. I'd go to work with him, and I saw it on a day-to-day basis. What, like, not a day-to-day, but as often as I could, what compassion in a work environment looks like. And my dad he was a social worker, and I'm from the mine. We come from a mining town. He would walk the mine, and he would talk to the people, and he would listen to their stories, and he would pat them on the back and encourage them. And so I saw a model of compassion and strength in both my mom and my dad. So navigating moments like the boys club and the boys hasn't been easy, but it has been to recognize the human being, and the people that I work with, and to learn, almost this instinct and this muscle of having to learn the environment and understand what about the environment early on, what about the environment doesn't suit me, but also doesn't reflect who I am, and then very easily fit in where I fit into the picture and my values, and be able to separate the two. And so navigating, a tease, or, somebody speaking over you, or, I mean, even being
Talking
in,
talking
and
back.
no, exactly,
Yeah.
or not even being recognized, like it's like, guys, I'm speaking, you know,
And here
um,
again.
you
Okay.
know, yes.
Are there are there strategies though? Are there specific strategies, leadership strategies that you've had to be a little bit more firm about, that you've had to employ to sort of
Yes,
assert?
yes,
I'm not going to use the term dominance here. That's not what I'm
yeah,
talking. I'm
yeah,
talking about
yeah,
leadership. I'm talking about gaining respect
yeah.
from your peers, and then of course, especially your subordinates.
Right, right, absolutely. Preparation, whether it's a meeting, a conversation, an idea that you maybe have, especially, I mean, I'll use this example of being one of eight gents and I'm the only girl, but I have to deliver. And I have to be the one that not only delivers, but I have to take them along with me. Preparation. And also then the relational aspect of, okay, I know this individual is probably going to respond in this particular way. If I want somebody to come along on the journey with me, one on one, speaking to them in one on one context rather than surprising the whole group, tactics like that. And then I think um, practicing finishing your sentences, whether somebody speaks over you or not. I've had to practice that.
Wow.
I've had to practice because, I went to speech and drama. So there's also, thankfully, again, this is from my mom,
Thankfully,
you
thankfully.
thankfully.
I've had that challenge myself. I've had that challenge myself from the perspective of someone trying to speak over you to sort of not exactly shut you up, but get their point across more affirmatively. And because I work in TV, I work on
Mm,
screen, it sounds very
mm,
rowdy, when you're trying to get your word in.
mm.
So it sort of seems a little more mature to just step back. But you can't always do that every single time. If not, you're probably never going to get your point out.
You're
We're
right.
talking strategies here.
No, you're right. So it is about reading the moment, but also like particularly when it's a big crowd, maybe it's a big meeting, it's a lot of people in the room, and you're trying to finish a thought. Um, firmly completing your sentence, even though somebody, they're speaking over you, or wanting to take, control over what you're saying.
Mm.
But it's the firmness and the quiet, the stillness of it, not coming across as angry or anything like that. Those are things that I've had to practice. And it's not to say it's not to come across as though I'm dominating.
Mm.
It's just that I want to finish making my point, and confidently relay what I'm trying to say. The preparation is important. If you need to write something down so that you are confident and you are prepared and you're not kind of going back and forth in terms of your confidence.
Flustered.
um,
That's the term I think about whenever that happens. It can be intimidating sometimes, these large crowds, and
it can.
it, and then maybe if you meet other maybe other young people trying to come up in the space, and you notice how flustered they are, you
Yeah,
sort of want to take that whole um, is it the pride of lions is the women that go to hunt, right? Yeah, the lioness role, like let her
yeah,
speak. She's trying
right.
to speak, and then you come across as aggressive in some ways, and then
Yeah,
sometimes. As Ola of Lagos is commenting here on Instagram, I'm not sure if you can see that. He says sometimes it sounds
no.
condescending, and you
Mm,
try to avoid sounding condescending. But let's talk about the opportunities out there. We're running far
yeah,
on time. Let's talk about the opportunities out there. I know that Blink by MiWay have done quite a lot in that space. Let's
yeah.
talk a bit on what MiWay is doing and how you're ensuring that the culture at Blink by MiWay works well for women in the industry.
Sure. You just touched on something that's so close to my heart. Culture. It's almost a passion. I can't even. I need to find the right English word for creating spaces where everyone that works for us feels that they can take ownership for what they're doing. So for me, what we've been able to build through Blink by MiWay is not just a digital insurance business. It's not just comprehensive car insurance for a particular audience, but it is a team of people that have come together to build something that answers a need in our country. We always like we laugh about it, and then sometimes it's like, yeah, we're just, we work in insurance. Like, how exciting can insurance really be? But on the inside, for us, it's really just about when a South African 25, 26, 27-year old is looking for something to be empowered by in the financial services area, will they find us and will they relate? Will they be able to feel like they can adult with somebody partnering with them along the way? We live in a country where access to the education around financial services, historically has not been wide. It hasn't been for everybody. I know all about insurance because I worked for an insurance, company. I know all about all the different additional excesses that sometimes are, all those different things, what the difference is between a regular driver and a drivable versus a non-driver. All those things are things that I know because I've worked here, not necessarily because growing up, it was accessible. And by the time I became an adult, I was empowered enough to know what to do and how to handle myself and how to. So for us, Blink by MiWay, all round, from the back end to the technology to the front end and the experience to the person that is talking to you when you're needing help in making the decision, or do I add car hire or not? What does that actually mean? Do I need minor repair cover for scratches and dents or not? What is the difference between, comprehensive cover and minor repair cover? Is it the same thing? Do I need this one or do I need that one? To that person that is guiding you through it. And for us, it has been about the inside culture and the heart behind what we're doing. And we're super passionate about it. We're passionate about, I'm going to put it this way. When we have like our meetings and our sessions, we keep an empty chair because we want to make sure that we've got that South African in mind when we're talking, when we're ideating and when we're trying to fix what we're fixing.
Wow.
So yeah, just an opportunity to create something that really responds to a real need.
It is indeed a real need. I'm just gonna, for those who are just tuning in now, this is one on one. My name is Titi Oyinsan. We're having a conversation with Keletso Mpisane. She is the head of Blink by MiWay, and yeah, Blink and your car is covered. I love that line. That's an interesting line. That's the web page right there above. And she is a woman under 40. She's navigated quite a lot of challenges rising through the ranks. She's been telling us her story. And I would love for her to, for you to give us, give young women some advice. These are your final thoughts for today's
Yeah.
conversation. Some advice. They're aspiring to leadership roles in
Yeah.
male-dominated fields.
Yeah.
What is the best advice you could give them that they can take away and that have worked for you?
Be yourself. There's no need to try and emulate, everybody else. There is an intrinsic you that people need, right? So show up and show up authentically. If you're making mistakes, you're making those mistakes knowing that you can take accountability for them. If you don't know what's going on, you don't know what's going on and you're seeking answers just like everybody else. Be yourself and show up authentically. And then my second, and I think most important, is have people around you that can help you and that can remind you of the things that you promised yourself long ago. The things that I want to do this and one day I'm going to be this and one day I'm going to be. Have people that you can trust in your circle that can help you recognize when you're off the mark, that can help you recognize when you've lost your way, because that's going to come. It's going to come. You're going to feel like you're the wrong person sometimes. You're going to feel like you've made the wrong decision. You're going to question yourself. You're going to, a lot is going to happen. And in those times, you need people that love you and people that can be honest with you and people that can help put you back on track, and on track with the thing that's intrinsic to who you are. And then I think pull others up with you. um, it's not it's not and for, I mean, this is for my personal view. There's nothing special about being the only one. There's nothing. If you're the only one, then it means something's wrong. So you've got to figure out in your environment, how do you pull other women up? How do you make sure that they are studying, that they are getting empowered, that they are paid well? Look at, when you do have the privilege, look at what people are getting paid and question and do the right thing by people and make sure that we are addressing, things that the system kind of creates along the way. You don't have to fight every battle, but the ones that are worth fighting, fight them. Do that with humility, with authenticity, and pull other people alongside with you. I think for me, that those are the principles that I carry, and that I would love to leave people with as they journey through themselves.
I have to say thank you so much for joining us today. I can only imagine how busy you are on a normal day. You took out time to talk to us, and I'm really inspired by your contribution to the show. Now, if, for instance, we have questions, comments, contributions, our comment
Yep.
section is still open on YouTube and any platform you are listening or viewing us from. And if there are some questions I know she can respond to, I'll forward them over to her. I guess I can find you on LinkedIn, I hope, with your
Yes, you
name.
can. Yes, you can. I'm not very faithful to respond all the time, but I do go and have a look. And people that often reach out, I do. We do chat and so on. So yes, LinkedIn is definitely one place.
All right, I will be checking you out there soon. A big shout out to Adedayo Adeloye, who commented on Instagram just now. He said, "I'm not a woman, but I enjoyed tuning in. Thanks a bunch, ma'am." All right, so I believe we have to wrap it up now. I actually have so many other questions. We have to do this again sometime soon,
Yes.
whenever you're free. All right, then let me let you go. Thank you.
Great chatting to you, Titi. Keep well.
All right, bye bye. All right, then. Yeah, that was one conversation I enjoyed. And of course, if you're wondering, it is Women's Month in South Africa. The month of August is Women's Month. So we got in just before the month ended to talk about the importance of leadership for women and in the space. And Keletso is head of Blink by MiWay. It's a position that underscores her leadership capabilities and innovative approach to a very highly competitive male dominated industry. And she has been navigating these challenges. And as you could see and hear, she's really passionate about her role, and her passion for leadership is matched by her commitment to creating those opportunities for others. And yeah, we are wrapping it up right now, but we'd like to encourage you to reach out to us as well. If you would like to have a conversation with us, you can always send us an email. Very simple. You can join us by emailing us. That's Dynamite Podcast Network at gmail.com. Dynamite Podcast Network at gmail.com. All right, then. Thanks again for being here. My name, once again, is Titilayo Oyinsan.